Zoning Board of Appeals at 7:03 p.m. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, the roll call, please.
Andrew Abanowitz.
Here.
Mary Ann Turner, here. Kelly Davis.
Here.
Charlie Masterbirdy.
Here.
Tim Neville.
Here.
Rich Stroni. Rob Kwasnicki. Kathy Plopper.
Okay. Fire evacuation notice. There's two means of exit from this room. One is behind you, out the doors and onto the town green. The other is on the door to your right, down the stairs, and out into the parking lot. Do we have a town attorney's report or just the executive session? Okay. So for the executive session portion of our agenda, we have to ask the audience to leave, and I will also be leaving because I am recused from the matter and turning that portion over to Mr. Neville.
decisions or motions or votes were taken during the executive session. Thank you.
Before we start this whole, what are all these pieces of paper on the desk? What do these connect to? Is this whole stack supposed to be about the,
No, they're different things.
No, there was only, those are there.
So this email, I'm sorry, Nicole should have wrote it for you. This is for this one. This is for the 79 Enfield Street, the appeal.
right,
This is the original case 7 for the Deep
That I
Road.
asked for?
Yes. And these are the minutes that were associated with it. This is from 1999, so planning and zoning approved. the
this
K7
isn't the
from that-
K7.
From that year it is.
Oh, this is what they look like?
Yeah, it's kind of funky. It took me a long time to figure out that that is the K7. That's why I gave you the minute copy right here. So it talks about what they came in as. Okay?
This would not have been what was filed with the Department of
That's all we have. That's what it came in
Automotive.
as. That's what it came in as.
This is not that. All this is the public hearing information. This is not the K7.
That's what it came in as in 1999. Planning and zoning made the K7 approvals. I looked for it all day. That's what it was. That's what.
And we need to contact the state of Connecticut then. No, because they should be in our files.
What are you asking for, Mary Ann?
The K7, the original K7,
For which
tri-state.
tri-state?
That's
Yeah.
the last one. Okay, you know what?
It just doesn't make any sense that we don't have it. That's just me. Okay, let's go.
Ready to move on through the
Let's move
agenda?
on. Yes, sir, Bob.
Okay, we're back. We don't have any old business. Madam Secretary, would you please read the legal ad?
ZBA 2022-06-15A, 79 Enfield Street, appeal of the ZEO cease and desist order regarding temporary storage containers. 7981 Enfield Street LLC, Moshe Ronan, applicant, map 35, lot 217, BL zone.
Thank you. And we'll open it up.
Hi,
Hello. Please state your name and address for the record.
my name is Moshe Ronan, 24 Churchill Drive, Long Meadow, Mass. 01106. I'm the owner of used Tire Max and also the owner of the building, the property at 7981 Enfield Street. I bought the building in 2020, and that particular business was for the last 50, 60, 70 years. It's an automotive tire dealership. 40, 50, 60 years ago, it was run by the Nugers family. And then they went out of business, and Bob Wiener Tire Company took over, I think, in the 80s. And the reason I know all that information, I worked for Bob Wiener Tire Company. I was the manager for that particular property, so I know the property very well. After that, a gentleman under the name Lou Panecha bought the building, and I bought it from him. The reason I'm giving you all the information, the history of the building was built as an automotive tire dealership. All the tire dealers in the entire state, city, all the country have a container, a storage container outside the building. It's not interfering with parking, it's not interfering with traffic, it's not interfering with the neighborhood. And the reason and let me go back a little bit. I bought the building in 2020 with the container attached to the building, and I paid separate for it from the owner. My point is, as a tire dealer, in order for you to run a clean, organized operation, not to have tires hanging all over the building, outside the building at night or the weekend. So we need that container with your permission and your permit to keep the area neat, clean, and basically for the environment to have all the junk tires in a closed container. The small container, more dealership have trailers. Our pod is maybe a quarter of the size of the trailer, so I'm not asking for a trailer. I'm asking for a storage container, which, like I said, it came with the building. That building, for years and years and years, either have a trailer or a pod or container for that purpose, to have a storage for junk tires. And I'm here for that, to have that permit so we can run an efficient, clean, and neat operation to keep the area clean, keep the neighborhood satisfied, and run a clean business. I've been in the tire business for over 50 years, so I know that it's almost a necessity to have, beside the dumpster, a storage container for the junk tires. And basically, I'm sorry, that particular container being empty once a week, once every 2 weeks, by environmental authorized disposal tire company. And we have contract with 2 companies, Lakin Tire out of Waste Haven, which is the largest disposal company in the country, and Bob's Tire Company in Wareham, Massachusetts. I'm using the one in Wareham because I have 4 other locations in Massachusetts. So, and all my buildings in Massachusetts have a dumpster, plus some of them have trailers. The city of Westfield and the city of Chicopee allow a trailer, and some in Springfield have a bigger containers. But again, it's strictly to keep and run a good, clean business to keep everybody happy, especially the neighborhood.
Questions of the board?
Did you put the stockade fence up yet?
When I got
Yes,
hit.
no?
No, not yet. We got the
Because I
letter.
asked you to do it the last time you were here.
I don't think so.
Yes. It was part of the conditions when we sat here for your K-7.
I really don't remember. But if that's the case, if I have to
One
do
of your
that, I will do it.
conditions.
Not a question.
It's one of your conditions,
Not a question.
and it's not done. And if you're putting the tires in the container, why are there tires outside?
Well, once in a great while, the last 6 months, everybody having a problem with drivers, everybody have problem with trucks, everybody have problem with delivery. So when the container is full, we have no choice but putting them on the side, some of them inside, some of them on the side of the container. And they
So
tell
you're
us they're
not,
going to...
so am I to understand then you're not actually getting the container emptied every 1 to 2 weeks?
Well, I have no control over it because it's a contract, and when they short on help, so they tell you they're coming on Monday, they come on Wednesday.
But you just told me you have multiple businesses.
Well, we have 2 companies.
Then why don't you move
Right.
the tires to those other sites?
Well, they come and pick it up. We have, today, let me just give a little information. Tire, for the last 100 years, it was a problem getting tire buried. Years ago, they were burying the tires all over landfill, all over the country. That's against the law, but it was done for a long time. Today, everything being recycled. So in order for us to get rid of the junk tires, we have to use that particular licensed, authorized company to pick up those tires, and they are recycling the tires, and they go from there. For me to get the tires, where I'm going to put them? I have
I
to have
wanna
a
know.
license. Well, that's why we have a contract with those company. But
But you
again,
told me you have 2 other tire stores.
oh, in Massachusetts,
Yeah.
right?
If you're going to have an overabundance of tires, move to your site. Put them in your own truck, take them.
But between you and me,
I wanna know between you and me.
once a month we have few tires left over. But as soon as I get a call from my manager we run and get rid of it right away. But we do our best to keep it clean. And basically, if you travel in this town of Enfield today or tomorrow, you will see almost 90% of the garages got tires against the wall, on the street, on a parking. We trying to
Sorry,
get the
but if you can tell me where those places are, I will have our zoning
no, my
enforcement
point-
going out there and citing them, because
My point is, I'm trying to do the right thing to have the container so the tires will be inside the container and not outside.
but your property does not hold a container. It's
sorry?
not part of your conditions from originally the K7. You don't have any place to put your dumpsters, which is part of the thing we talked about the last time we were here. And that's why we asked you to go to planning and zoning and talk to them about a site plan review. But you ended up coming in front of ZBA for a K7.
No, we did a site plan, and I gave it to
No, you
the
didn't.
planning board.
No, you didn't.
I mean, plan
You
the
never
planning.
went to planning and zoning, which would have looked at some of your problems. When you come to ZBA, our only job is to look at K7s. The K7 we could only look at was back from the 60s and 70s, wasn't it, Lori? With the conditions that were already there, we could not add conditions. We had to go with the conditions that were already in place. One of them was that you can't work on your own vehicles. And one of them was that you were supposed to put a stockade fence, which I have repeatedly mentioned to our zoning enforcement officer. And now you're asking us about a container that shouldn't be there.
Commissioner Neville?
I guess I would agree with some of the things that Commissioner Turner has already said, but I'm looking at this here. You have a container, I don't know how many tires there are, but it looks, is how many weeks' worth of tires?
A week. One
They're sitting
150
outside, they're stacked up high in the car?
150 tires in that container. 150 to 200 tires will fit in that container.
And so that container right now is full and with all these other tires around it. I'm going by the picture here. There's stacks of tires in front of it.
That was an old picture took by, I think, a few months ago. Right now, if you look, there's some neighbors behind me. They can testify that I'm the best thing that happened to that area, really. I'm a good operator. I'm a clean operator. If I miss as far as the stockade, I apologize. I'll probably do it tomorrow. But again, the only way I'm asking for the container, not because to increase sales, to benefit me, it's basically to benefit the area, to benefit the business. Every tire dealer in the country, including Enfield, have a storage container to hold junk tires.
I don't disagree with you
Right.
on that. My question is, you've got this container there, and there's a question of the legality of it, but the issue with all the other tires there, and they're not getting picked up every week or every 2 weeks.
Maybe that was
And that's
overflow. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of overflow. And I think the reason to have the container that you're requesting, to put in here, is to get rid of that overflow and not have it be unsightly or unsanitary or anything like that. It just doesn't make sense to me. And if, it just doesn't make sense the way it looks there and the way you're coming across with it.
Other questions of the board?
How do they empty the container?
I'm sorry?
How do you empty the
A
container?
truck come with 2 employees from the other company. They back up into the container, we open the doors, and they haul the tires one by one into their truck. They empty the container, and they leave. But the reason, like I say, that picture, it's too bad that picture probably is there. Maybe one day it was overflow and the company didn't come that particular day as promised. Again, labor problem, delivery problem,
Mr. Chairman,
it's everywhere.
just to clarify, the cease and desist is for the storage container itself not being approved, correct? Not the tires outside at this
That's-
point?
That's what we're here for, yes.
And so what does the applicant need in this scenario? Approval for the container, or is that something he has to go to P and Z for?
No, that's what he's here for.
I
Okay,
mean, we're here to either uphold or overturn the
Cease and
the
desist.
cease and desist
Okay.
order. That's the purpose.
And if you read our rules, Commissioner, go to 3.30.14, which talks about storage containers.
Right.
And they're only allowed in the I-1, I-2. This is not, this is
Understood,
neither of
but
those.
we brought up a couple different things here, though. It's the tires outside, which I agree is unsightly, and also the lack of the stockade fence, which you brought up, Commissioner Turner. So that's why I'm just trying to clarify.
We're here for the
Right,
container.
we're here on
Container
the
itself.
container.
Okay.
Those other issues are external.
Thank you.
Other questions of the board?
The thing is, I don't know how this is going to be ever, our rules are clear. If you go to our section that the ZEO handed us, it says industrial 1, industrial 2 are subject to the following conditions: to be located in rear yards, coverage of the area shall not exceed the overall building maximum.
I think that's something you can bring up in the discussion,
Okay?
unless there's a question you have.
It's just, I'm not sure how to solve it.
All right, well, we have a sign-up sheet, so we're going to have those folks come and speak first, and I'll take them in order. The first speaker we have signed up is Cheryl Blythe, 6 Willard Avenue. Yeah, you can sit back in the audience, please.
Evening.
Good evening. Please just state your name and address again for the record.
Cheryl Blythe, address 6 Willard Ave, Enfield.
Okay.
I'm the abutting property to 7981 Enfield slash 4 Willard Ave. This container has been there since I can remember. Mr. Ronan has inherited it when he bought the property, and it was very in disrepair looking then. He's managed to fix it up, paint it so it matches the building. This picture of tires outside, I don't know how old that is, but I can say in the last couple months, I have not seen tires outside. He takes care of his property, unlike the guy before him. The guy before him, when he bought the place in 2011, that container was there. So I don't get how it's an issue now. And then there's something about a stockade fence. Is that the fence that's supposed to go between me and his business? Because we mentioned at the last meeting, I'm fine with the chain link fence. I don't want a stockade fence where I sit in my side yard and now I'm blocked off from looking up the street. There is a fence there. It's been there for over 30-something years, if not longer. I've been on the street 30-something years. I mean, we made a complaint to Rick, or my husband did, back in October of 2019 about the condition of this property before Mr. Ronan bought it. And one of the issues back then was this container, and nothing was done about it back then. And I understand you're saying the container is supposed to go behind the building, or storage, or whatever. He has no behind. That's 4 Willard Ave. That's a residential area. I'm fine with the container. I haven't seen tires out there in months, and when I do, there might be just a couple, and then I don't know if they put them inside or if they find a place for them, but they're not out there that long, and they're not a pile like what I saw in that one. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Next on our list is Howard Blythe, 6 Willard Avenue.
Thank you. My name's Howard Blythe. I live at 6 Willard Ave, Enfield, Connecticut. I've been there for 30-something years. I also owned a house on 7 Willard Ave, and I own that totally. I've been on Willard Ave for almost 40 years. Basically, I think my wife said basically everything that I was going to say too, but the building itself is the best I have ever seen in 40 years. He had repainted the whole building. He's done everything we've asked him. And as far as that container was damaged when Lou, for whoever his name was, owned it. It was damaged. He fixed it up, had it all fixed up. We asked him if he could paint it the same color as the building so it would blend in. Like my wife said, I complained about that to Rick in 2019. And the only reason why I complained about it, because it was a white pod, whatever you want to call it. It was all white, and the whole side was pushed in from the snow plows. Mr. Moshe has come in and taken over, fixed it. And as far as the tires, my wife said about for the last month or so, there hasn't been any outside. I can see the truck. It comes once, sometimes it comes once a week, but usually no more than 2 weeks, they come and pick up the tires out of the container. If the container gets full, they keep them inside now. So, like I said, I don't see a problem with the container. It doesn't bother us. It blends right in with the building. And I think it should stay there. I mean, it's not hurting anybody. I don't know what else I can say is to be on his behalf, but he's the best owner, landlord, or whatever of that building in the last 40 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next on our list, we have Carl Damon, 3 Willard Avenue.
How you doing? Yes, Carl Damon, 3 Willard Avenue. I've lived on Willard Avenue for over 50 years. I've seen the ins, the outs, the mostly bads from Interstate Tire Company with all the soot, the trailers, the previous owner with the tractor trailers that took so long for him to get out of there. And this one little container, I see no problem at all. Mr. Ronan has cleaned up that building like there's no tomorrow. I don't see the whole bickering problem with this one container. I really don't. I mean, I see it out of my kitchen window. It's clean. The building is clean. I just don't get the whole scenario. But he has cleaned up the property drastically. I mean, drastically. And to worry about a little container that's, with tires in it, and they do empty it, I don't know. I'm in favor of having it there, I'd much rather have it in a small container than, pardon my English, the garbage that was all there for years and years and years and nobody did anything about it. That's pretty much all I have to say, I mean, like I said, I've seen it all. And then some. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience to speak in favor? Anyone else in the audience? With that, Madam Secretary, we had a letter come in by email. Would you
Yes.
please read that into the record?
Dear Commissioners Neville, Turner, Davis, Master Birdie, Stroney, Kwasnicky, Plopper, and Urbanowitz. This email is in response to ZBA 20220615A. We are the residents of 13 Sword Avenue in Enfield. Several times a day we pass the business. The tires and the trash dumpsters are unsightly. While we understand Mr. Ronan's business may need a storage container for the tires, we believe that he should comply with the zoning laws in effect and erect a fencing or shrubbery around the storage container. This applies to the trash dumpsters as well. It is imperative that all property owners maintain their respective properties so that the maximum fair market value for the one's property may be achieved and sustained. Installing fencing or shrubbery will help to improve the visual status of the northern Enfield section, which is the gateway into Connecticut from Massachusetts. Lastly, while the storage container may have been on the property for many years, this does not negate an owner's responsibility to comply with the zoning laws in effect. Every day, we are required to comply with federal, state, and local laws. We see no reason why this business should be exempt. Respectfully, Concetta Air, Michelle Air of 13 Sword Avenue, Enfield.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Does the applicant have additional comment for us? Would he like to come up?
I truly don't know where's that street.
It's right across the street.
Is it next to us?
No. Behind the,
Yeah, I just want to make sure I know who's that. The people behind me, they're right surrounding my property. The people that testify on my behalf, they're on the front of the building, they're on the side of the building, they're on the back of the building. Matter of fact, the distance between my building and the neighbors over here, 15 to 30 feet from the back of the building to their property. In closing, I would appreciate very much if you can consider my application. It will help us to run a clean business, will help the neighborhood to keep it clean and safe, and I appreciate your consideration for granting us the permit to have a dumpster there. I mean, a pod, so we can run a clean operation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I just want to reiterate the fact that it is a non-conforming structure that has been there for more than 3 years, as proven by the neighbors. It is in support of the neighbors, so I just wanted to mention that. You can also see it on Google Earth going back years. Thank you. The 3-year rule may be in effect here. Just the ZEO did his job as the complaint came in. He doesn't notice a violation as the standard procedure would be for his role.
Any further questions of the board to the applicant, or do we have a motion to close the hearing?
I make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising their hand. Motion passes 5-0. Okay.
I have a question for you, through you to the planner. So if we were to agree that this storage container, which isn't supposed to be in this zone, we agree to it, what happens when the next business comes? And they're not great neighbors, and the storage container is there? Does the storage container now stay?
It's
You want to answer that?
I'm just going to reiterate that it would apply to the new property owner as well as a non-conforming structure if it's the same pod.
So the answer is, if we leave the container there, that future howevers, whatever the business might be, that container stays on the property.
Yes. So the 3-year rule is a structure or something of that nature could be on the property if it's there for 3 years or more, and we haven't taken any action against it, then basically it gets to stay there for
Has the
in
property owner
perpetuity.
paid taxes on that container?
That I couldn't answer you. I'd have to ask the tax assessor that.
Well, then
So
maybe we-
I will say that when the tax assessors go out and look, they don't check to see if things are compliant. They just see if it's there or not and if it's taxable or not.
But if you're going to share with me the 3-year rule, you might want to have told me if I have if it has been taxed. I'm questioning, Mr. Chairman, in the ZEO's document, it says, as part of the approval, site plan was also approved that it did not show or allow outside storage. Do you know what approval, a site plan we're talking about? Because I could not find it in this set of documents.
I don't know what he was referring to, but maybe staff knows.
It came in as a public hearing, not a site plan review. There was not a specific condition that related to outdoor storage or to the pod itself. That's all I have are 2 public hearing numbers and then 2 ZBA numbers.
Okay, but I'm reading the zoning complaint that are, and it says right on, as part of that approval, a site plan was also approved that did not show or allow outdoor storage, and this was as of February 10th, 21. And that's talking about us. ZBA under a location approval with conditions previously approved for that land, which is in this packet, which go back to the 60s.
In the ZBA file 1967-09-07, one of the conditions states the additional structure for which the variance is granted is for storage only. I'm not sure if that structure is the outdoor storage pod that's referenced in that file or not. I have not had a moment to look at these files. Rick's on vacation, so I'm not sure if you don't feel comfortable making a decision tonight, maybe continue it.
If the board feels that they have questions for staff and staff that's present can't answer because she's not the person that wrote the complaint, an option would be that you could continue this, table it on to the next agenda.
I make a motion that we table this until our September meeting.
Second.
Let's do a vote by raising our hands, or do you want to do it by, well, let's read the roll call just so it's in the record. Roll call on that, please, Madam Secretary.
Andrew Abanowitz.
Yes.
Mary Ann Turner, yes. Kelly Davis.
Yes.
Charlie Masterbirdy.
Yes.
Tim Neville.
Yes.
Okay.
That's going to be to the September meeting?
Yes, so
We
it'll
don't
be
meet, no.
continued to our next meeting.
Continued.
Okay. Can I make a suggestion? I know it's closing. Make it easy for you to make a decision to grant me the container.
We can't take testimony
Okay.
outside the hearing's been closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure you hang on to your packets.
Yes.
Hang on to your
Don't
packets.
throw them away. Moving on to our agenda. Madam Secretary, could you read the legal notice for the
ZBA 2022-06-15B, 29 Crescent Beach Drive. Application to vary Section 340.2A to allow the relocation expansion of a lawful non-conforming structure deck for George and Lynn I'm pronouncing it wrong, applicants, owners, map 97, lot 10, R33 zone, Lake Overlay District.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair members. I'm George McAleese,
Thank you.
and I own 29 Crescent Beach Drive. And I'm here to look for a variance to expand my non-conforming deck that was originally removed because of termite damage and damage to the house. I think I've been through this before. As looking at the original deck, I've never given up my right to give way to my original deck. So I'd like to keep my original deck and put it back on the house, but I'm asking for a different configuration because it doesn't fall in line with my house, my sliders in the front of my house, which is really the back of my house. I'm in the Overland District, so the back of my house is the front of my house, and the front of my house is really the back of my house. if you follow that. So what I'm asking for is, instead of going out 11 feet, I'd like to come out 8 feet, the entire length of the house, which is 35 feet. So it would come out 8 feet and go the length of the house 35 feet. The existing deck came out 11 feet by 19. So I would be increasing the square footage by about 35 square feet, 31 to 35 square feet, but I would be reducing the distance to the lake. So I would be closer to my house, not to my lake, with this deck. If I went with the original deck, I would be closer to the lake. There are some pictures. Do you have those pictures maybe?
Yeah, we
You
have
have,
everything you filed, we have.
You should have
So if you'd
one
like
that
to
looks
referral-
something like
yep.
this, and you can see, yes. I'm not an engineer, and I'm just a residential guy trying to improve the house there and make it worthy to live in. So, you can see the key there. The proposal I came to last time was that stripe part of there that is in the blue. It is a 7 by 10 that you guys approved for me to build my addition to the house, not the deck, the addition. So my deck is the red outline there. That's my proposed deck that I would like to put on there. It's 8 by the length of the house. There's a couple sliders there, one in my master bedroom and one in my living room that would come off of there. And as you can see with the old existing deck, it wouldn't even reach my slider in my living room, so my slider, I wouldn't have anything to walk off on. It would limit my access from my house. In a sense, creating a fire hazard, in my opinion, leaving me only one way to exit. Anyway, so I'm looking for a variance to bring it to 24 feet instead of the 35. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Well, we already
Questions of the commission?
gave
Marianne?
you a variance from 35 to 32,
Correct.
and I was out there on the property.
Again, ma'am?
Pardon me?
Were you out there again?
No.
Afterwards? Okay.
No.
I know you were out there.
And well, I think you were in Florida when I was down there.
Correct.
Yeah. And I was confused at the time why, because you took the deck down. It was completely gone, and wasn't it asphalt that's on the ground?
There's a lot of asphalt on the ground there.
Right, so you're now going to put the deck back over the asphalt.
Over that existing asphalt.
Right.
But I'm gonna remove the remaining asphalt. I thought of keeping the asphalt there only to make it as a storage area. But if,
Whoa, wait.
just store stuff under the deck, but if that's not possible, that's okay with me.
Oh, no,
too.
you're not talking about the asphalt that's going to go from the edge of this deck down towards the water,
I
right?
am talking about removing that eventually. I want to remove that. This is the whole reason for the erosion. My whole yard is asphalt. And if you can see the pictures here, that's an aerial view, but you don't get the real steepness to it. It comes down, as she can contest, very steep, and there's a lot of asphalt, and all that rain and wash comes all down, and it heads right towards there. And that's what I need to remedy. But I can't, I gotta do that in stages. I wanna remove all of that asphalt, correct, so that all that rainwater doesn't just wash to the lake, it has time to penetrate the land and be filtered.
So are you taking the asphalt out to build the deck, or aren't you?
No, I am not taking the asphalt out to build the deck.
Okay.
I am taking the asphalt out later, but I would like to build the deck.
Commissioner Neville?
I'm a little confused about the asphalt picture here.
Okay?
The proposed deck, there's currently asphalt underneath that,
Correct.
okay? Your intent is to leave that asphalt there and
Right.
cut out the asphalt that goes beyond that proposed deck and right down to almost the lake edge. Am I correct or close to correct?
If I need to take all the asphalt out to put the deck up, I will do that.
What would be the need for you? Us telling you
You're
that?
questioning why I'm leaving the asphalt under my deck, so I'm a little worried
Oh, I'm just
that-
trying to figure out, what you're actually doing, that's all. It's just, I'm confused.
Well, you brought it up, so I'm with you. I just want to know, are you planning on, because you said you're going to have storage. I surely don't want any more storage on the front face of your lake. I'm assuming you're not going to come back and say, because you've already come in here once from 35 to 32, and we did that. Now you
Believe
want
me,
it
I will
30,
not come back again.
now you want 32 to 24.
Well, I wasn't thinking of my deck. I was thinking of putting my deck back on, which I thought I had all the right to do. But I wasn't thinking about how the house laid out when I was here doing it. So it was my mistake, and I apologize for that. And I am back there again asking for that.
Mr. Chairman?
Correct.
Rich.
So just to clarify, we're looking at the deck structure here. Forget about the asphalt for a minute.
Thank
The
you.
asphalt, the deck is across the width of your house, the front face, and it's closer in than the deck you had originally.
Correct.
And I'm assuming that the closest corner isn't any more non-conforming than what you had before. In other words, it's no closer to the shoreline, which is the key here,
Correct.
okay?
None of it.
And so you're going from 19 down to?
8.
8 feet.
Correct.
I'm sorry, 11 down to 8 feet in terms of the depth of your deck across the full width of your house. And it looks like from the house that what I'll call looking down on your house, the right side is further away from the shoreline than the left side of your house.
That is correct,
Okay.
because of the erosion there.
And then the deck itself will be put above whatever asphalt exists underneath that right now,
Well, I will be digging, I'll be taking that asphalt out and putting
for the piers themselves,
piers
for the
in,
deck.
And then.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Commissioner Stroini? I
Yes.
do want to add that it's only an increase in 31 square feet.
Yes, it's because of the width of the house
Yes.
versus what was
Yes.
before. I'm more concerned with the distance to the shoreline,
Yep.
which was the issue from when this gentleman came
It
before us
is being
before.
reduced.
Yes, less non-conforming than it was before.
Yes.
But that's my question. He came into compliance when he took the deck down.
He never had an intent to abandon
And how do you know that?
because it was
he
never.
told you?
No, because it was never submitted in writing. An intent to abandon a non-conforming structure or a non-conforming use can only be submitted by the property owner in writing, which he has not done so. He has wanted to keep the non-conforming structure what he is entitled to.
Did we extend the house inside the deck area, or did we just straighten the wall? 'Cause I believe I went down there, the existing wall of the house, which had all the termite damage, you didn't extend it into the deck area, you just went the length of the house and fixed it, correct?
Correct.
And you took the deck off to do that work?
Correct.
That was existing deck at that time, and now is part of the house, correct?
Right, but we've already been through that.
That's right.
So you
You
included
approved
that?
that for me,
We did that,
correct.
okay.
And
So
I
you did
appreciate
not
that, and I
add.
thank you.
You did not add the deck area into the house, only that little square. This deck was there, you took it down to fix your house.
I took the original deck
You
down.
took this deck down, but you did not incorporate any of it into the house, only this little square over here, right?
I'm not following you, miss.
You
So-
did not include, this is your house, this is your house line right here?
Yes,
Was it always there? You just fixed that. You didn't incorporate deck into that at the time when you came to see us. Only this little square right here got included in your house,
the 10 by 7 is what
right
you
here.
said.
That part got included into your house, but nothing this way. You didn't include any of the deck area, right?
Correct, because
Okay,
I was
that-
under the impression.
No, no, I'm with you. That's all I want to know.
I was under the impression that I had the right to put my existing deck back.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just asking a question to make sure you didn't incorporate the house on the deck. That you're not adding a new deck, you're adding the existing space, just the length. I'm on board with you.
Okay.
And just for myself, a question to staff, but for this 31 square feet, he could build this in any configuration he wants.
He's allowed-
It's just the expansion of the square footage
Correct.
that's really an issue for us.
Correct.
Only if he doesn't go any closer to the water. What would you mean by,
Well, I mean, in his current, he's pulled the deck back to his house, so he could build it in this configuration, but like chop a corner off and save 31 square feet and just build it just go and get a permit.
true, but you can't because he's supposed to be 35 feet from the water,
Well, no,
which
but
we now
it's-
made 2
but-
feet, which
but-
is now going to go to 24 feet.
Right, but he has a non-conforming structure there, so he could just.
He could build that.
He could, well, or he could reuse the square footage of that and lay it into this, and whatever's extra don't build, and he wouldn't need the variance.
So then technically, he doesn't need a variance.
He does need a variance because he's expanding the non-conforming structure.
That's what he.
Because
cared
it's
for,
going
is
the length of the
31.
house.
Yes.
and the
And he's
square
bringing
footage.
it more into compliance because he's keeping it further from the lake. Not to mention that the applicant plans to remove a majority of the asphalt that is there, which was also favored by the Wetlands Commission.
And through the chairman, question to staff.
Sure.
This would prevent future development further out?
Yes.
This would lock him
Yep.
in at that 8 foot
Yes.
from the house?
Yes.
And anyone else trying to build further out would
Correct.
have to come back for a
Correct.
variance?
Yes.
Okay.
Right,
We're
thank you.
already,
Oh, no.
sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Is that correct, though? I mean, if we approve this variance, and he's got the 8 through whatever it is, he's 24 feet back versus 32
35.
35, okay? Once that variance approved, if he sells the house, it's
It's-
locked in, right?
No, because it's a non-conforming structure. It doesn't count, it's not the house, it's the deck. That's the
The deck is, he could not expand that again or come in for another variance on the deck.
Well, he could come back
He-
in to
he could always
modify the
come-
nonconformity.
Yeah, he could always come back again,
Right.
but right now, that variance is the minimum requirement for him to do that deck.
So this is
Variance-
formally reducing the nonconformity
Yes.
going forward? And
Yes.
any future nonconformity increases would have to be approved?
Yes.
Thank you.
So at this point, he would be abandoning the current non-conforming deck
Yep.
in lieu of the new non-conforming deck.
Are you getting that in writing?
We are
Well,
through
that's-
this action.
Yes.
By
Through this
this-
approval.
But we came into this spot just months ago to change from 35 feet to 32 feet.
That was to allow him to fix the house, because the house is right at 35 feet. That's why it actually goes a little bit into the house.
Yeah.
That 32 feet let him put that addition onto his house. The applicant didn't know he didn't have an idea of what the deck was going to be once he finished the house and bring it back into compliance. So that's kind of why it's all a little bit confused to understand, kind of. But bringing that back to 24 lets him fix the deck compared to putting on the original structure, which was closer to the water.
Or he could just put the deck back that he had
He can't.
because he wants to go to 24 feet.
Not necessarily. It's because of his doors, which I'm sure the applicant can explain better than me.
It has nothing to do about what he wants to put in that he wants to build. We're not here about that building part, because technically, we could make it less feet. We could make this deck 4 feet wide. And how are we going to make sure that it doesn't go the whole length of the property? Because now we have to make sure that we don't go.
His narrative states 35 feet
He's-
width by 8.
Right, but we also know that in variance lands that we've gone down this road before, Lori, is that we have to be specific now to not let the variance run the whole length of the property.
This
Well,
is-
you could clarify that it runs the length of the building.
Right, and this is modifying a non-conforming structure, not varying whatever you want to do.
You
So
can-
this is just for the purpose of a deck. That would be a condition that if we approved it, we would say the non-conforming use has been modified to this configuration, and the condition of that approval is it's for a deck. It's to not exceed the length of the building.
So the question that I'm still laying on the table is, you're saying it's only 31 square feet.
Additional.
Additional.
Additional. So if-
Additional,
If you took this green box that he's
Right.
drawn.
Can I
Right.
maybe try to clarify?
And laid it.
No, hang on one
So
second.
if you took the green box and picked up this extra square
Yep,
footage
and
and
stuffed
laid
it in here.
Stuffed it in here, there's 31 square feet
That's-
of
he
white
needs,
space
that he
doesn't-
needs.
Isn't covered by the green space.
I understand.
Okay.
But overall, it's becoming less non-conforming to setback.
Right, because it's closer, it's further from the water line.
And any approval would be conditioned on the width of the house, or the frontage of the house in this case, because it faces the lake,
Right.
to 8 feet beyond the frontage.
And I believe that it's, I have to have it inspected after I'm done. Am I not right?
True, and
Absolutely.
if he violates
Why
his approval, our ZEO will issue a notice of violation.
And then I'll be back.
Let's not have that, sir.
I don't want to come back.
Further questions of the commission for the applicant? Is there anyone in the audience on this matter? Hearing none, we have a motion.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, did you make a motion to open the public hearing?
Yes, we did, and we read the,
Okay, can you just remind me who made the motion, who seconded? I'm sorry. You guys talk really fast.
well, I mean, we read the legal notice and opened the public hearing. That's
Oh.
our procedure.
Gotcha.
And I'm asking now for a motion to close, so if somebody.
Motion to close.
But do you have to ask for any further public comment before you
did.
close?
I did.
Okay.
I
Okay,
did,
sorry.
and there's no one in the audience, and we haven't received anything on this application.
Kelly, I'm second.
Okay, so vote. All those in favor? Yep. Okay, motion passes 5-0. Discussion. I think we've kind of had a pretty good discussion, but.
I would like to make sure that I have it written down with the exact, that it cannot exceed this space. That we're not coming back a third time for an additional variance, and it does not exceed this building space. Doesn't go down the driveway to the left. I want to make sure that we write the conditions properly.
Chairman, I just want to say that there are stairs.
The hearing's closed. Sorry. Yes, so I mean, you're,
That's all I'm asking when we get there.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to approve, or do we want any more discussion?
no, I think that's good. Is there a second to your motion?
Well, you want me to read it?
Well, yeah.
Okay. I make a motion to approve ZBA 2022-06-15B, 29 Crescent Beach Drive application to vary section 340.2A to allow the relocation and expansion of a lawful non-conforming structured deck to George, say your last name,
McAleese.
McAleese, applicant owner, map 97, lot 10, R33 zone, Lake Overlay District, according to the materials submitted under ZBA 2022-06-15B.
Second.
Okay. All those, or Madam Secretary, let's do a roll call. That's what we've been doing.
1 second. Andrew Abanowitz.
Yes.
Mary Ann Turner, yes. Kelly Davis.
Yes.
Charles Masterbirdy.
Yes.
And Tim Neville.
Yes.
I would like the reasons for approval, please. Go.
The property will be less non-conforming by approving this modification. As the structure will be further from the water line of the lake.
What are the conditions?
And then your conditions would be that the width of the deck is not to exceed the width of the house.
Okay,
And then the deck's not to project from the house more than whatever this footage is here.
It's 8 feet.
It's 8 feet, is that the number that's been asked for? So then it's 8 feet.
Mr. Chairman, can I just recommend that we add the frontage of the house since it's a Crescent Lake property?
I think that's what we've said in here.
more than happy to write it,
Okay.
Commissioner. I will tell you, you made me laugh the last time we were with you when you were talking on the phone.
I was hoping nobody would bring that up.
Oh, no, no.
So
That was
embarrassed.
one of our
I couldn't believe
priceless
it.
moments.
But I knew you
We
would.
remember.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's keep the cards
Yeah,
in
to your
there.
scrap pile.
No problem. You ready?
Okay, next on our agenda, we have, sorry, let me.
One more?
Get back to you. Yes, we have Depot Hill Road.
ZBA 2022-07-13, 1 Depot Hill Road, automotive application transfer existing dealership to new owner, Gabriella Kenworth of Connecticut LLC, applicant RSP Capital Holdings LLC, owner map 13, lot 38.
Good evening, gentlemen. Please state your names and addresses for the record and go forward.
Thank you. My name is Jesse Langer of Updike, Kelly and Spellacy, 265 Church Street in New Haven.
Arthur Saccone, 100 Poplar Street, Garden City, New York, 11530.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. With me today as well is Romulo Gabrielli, who is a principal of Gabrielli, and also John Schmitz, who's an engineer at BL Companies, and they're here to support the application as necessary. Gabrielli is a family-owned business. They've operated a commercial truck sales and service business for over 50 years. They have truck dealerships in the tri-state area as well as, I think, as far north as Vermont. They're expanding their footprint in Connecticut further. They have existing locations in Hartford and Milford, and they're very excited to join the Enfield business community with their pending acquisition of the Tri-State Kenworth dealership here in town at 1 Depot Hill Road. This application is for a location approval, which is required under General Statutes 14-54. In other words, it's a location approval. It's a prerequisite for the issuance of a dealer's license by the Connecticut Department of Motor Vehicles. So this board is acting in effect as an agent of the state. And so this isn't a zoning matter, but again, a prerequisite for a state-issued license. As you know, the requirement for a local approval by the municipality in which the site is located is now reflected in the DMV's K7 form. And although my client, who already operates commercial dealerships in Connecticut, they must obtain a new dealer's license from the Connecticut Department of Motor Vehicles for this location, and that is why we are here today. The truck dealership has operated for decades. The town approved the truck dealership used by the truck dealership use by special permit in 1999 to Tri-State Diesel Inc., which I believe is designated as PH 2133. The special permit, of course, runs with the land. In 2016, the town, acting again as a special agent of the state, granted a location approval for Avient Truck Centers, Inc., doing business as Tri-State Kenworth, which I believe is designated as SBR number 1679. The property is located in an I-2 Industrial 2 district, which allows for auto repairs and automobile sales by special permit, as set forth in, I believe, Section 6.2 of the zoning, Table 6.2 of the zoning regulations. And Gabrielli intends to continue the existing dealership use, which was approved again in 1999 and most recently in 2016. They do not intend to make any changes to the use or the scope of the existing use. So I want to emphasize that. This is, in effect, a name change. Any future changes, of course, would have to come back before planning and zoning as appropriate. And there are no change conditions that I'm aware of that would be meaningful to this application since the last approval in 2016. Putting aside this board's recent approval of the same location, which I think is dispositive because there haven't been many changes that I know of. The property is suitable for an automotive use, and specifically the retail sale of vehicles. As I'm sure you're very well aware of, it's bordered by I-91 to the west and Route 5 to the east. There are industrial uses that are surrounding it. Beyond Route 5 are some industrial uses and land designated as Industrial District 1, as well as some residential. and there are industrial uses to the north with some residential to the south. I believe for purposes of the board's deliberation, there is the, I don't want to mispronounce it, but the CREC or CREC High School, which is about 2,000 feet to the north on Route 5, and just beyond that is a Grace and Glory Church, which is a short distance beyond that school. But again, that's about a half a mile from the present location, which has been in existence for quite a long time. So really, this again is just a continuation of the existing approvals, and there are no conditions specific to the immediate area that I think would be meaningful for this board to consider. And of course, Gabrielli is again very excited about joining the business community. And so if there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer them to the best of our ability. Thank you.
Questions of the commission? None? Okay. Well, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak, or are we good for
Mr. Chair,
council?
I just want to let you know the K7s are not public hearings.
Right, but he mentioned
Okay.
that.
Yep, just
that
wanted to
those-
make
I'm
sure.
assuming those are your clients out there.
They are.
If they wish to address us, they may. If they're happy with what you've said, that's fine too.
Great. My name's Romulo. The main principal.
Hate to do that to you, but you have to come
If
to
you're
the
going to speak,
podium.
speak. If not,
The public who has nothing to do tonight, like my husband, is watching.
oh boy.
My name is Romulo Gabrielli. I live on 452 West 19th Street in Manhattan, New York, 10011. And I just wanted to say hello, and I'm very excited to be approved for this facility. And my father and my brothers and sisters and I have been working in this business for 50 years. My dad came over from Italy in 1962 and as an auto mechanic, and now he and his brother and the children, we run a business now with almost 1,000 employees, and we're just happy to be here in Enfield, Connecticut, and just wanted to say hi.
Well, I'd like to just add that Tri-State has been an absolute wonderful company, and I knew Scotty when he built it, and I am thrilled you're here. They did a lot of work to make that property, and I'm thrilled you're here.
Thank you. I saw Scotty the other day. He's a great guy.
Oh, I miss him. He's great.
Thank you. Do we have a
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion to approve ZBA 2022-0713, 1 Depot Hill Road Automotive Application to transfer existing dealership to a new owner, Gabriella Kenworth of Connecticut LLC, applicant RSP Capital Holding LLC, owner, map 13, lot 38, according to the material submitted under ZBA 2022-0713.
Second.
All those, that's not my job.
right? Do you have want to go through the reasons on it, or
I just think it's a K7.
it's a continued use
Right.
of the existing? Okay, so you said that, and now we can do a roll call vote when you're ready. Right? Finish writing that.
Yeah, I'll just write when I'm done writing. Andrew Abanowitz.
Yes.
Mary Ann Turner, yes. Kelly Davis.
Yes.
Charles Masterbirdy.
Yes.
Tim Neville.
Yes.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys.
Could you we're going to have a K7, we'll put it in there, but by any chance, if you have a copy of the K7 that Scotty and his group had, would you mind sending it to the office so we can put it in the file?
If we can, yes, we'll be happy
Don't
to.
kill
If we can
yourself.
find it,
If
yeah.
you find,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are we ready to move on? to-
Yeah, I'll just give you the sign.
There you go. Moving on to the approval of minutes. We're going to deal with June 27, 2022 first.
Okay. I do,
That's it, Tony.
There you go.
at the last meeting, Rick had mentioned that the changes that I was requesting to the December minutes were going to be put into these minutes. But after I thought about it, we never approved the December minutes because they weren't right.
Right.
And we never voted on them. So that would mean to me that those changes that are written here, which are still not 100% correct, need to be put in those minutes so that we can vote on them.
Well, the town had to publish them without our approval to meet the state statute, so they've already been put there, and despite our inaction, they can't be changed.
But it wasn't our inaction, it was staff's inaction, because we kept asking for it.
Well, we didn't
So-
have it, and we
Right.
couldn't take the action.
Okay,
So,
I'm with you on that
But they had
words.
to put it, so it's already been published, so they can't go back and remove something from the record, so it's there.
And they can't amend?
No, but what they can do is reflected in the minutes that we had from the June 27th meeting, and
So
Yeah,
how
we-
will a person who wants to go back in 5 years and read our December minutes that don't make sense know to go to these minutes?
So
There's a way.
I mean,
they'll see in the January minutes that the December minutes were not voted on. So they're just going to have to keep looking at the meeting minutes until they find the meeting that you guys talk about the December minutes and vote on them. It's happened before to other commissions in the past as well.
That presumes they go to the January minutes
Yes.
to see if the December minutes were approved or
Yep.
not. And then
Yep, and then they'll see that they weren't approved, and they'll just have to think to keep looking until they are approved.
So there's nothing, to Commissioner Turner's point, there's nothing in the December minutes or January minutes that would reflect that they were approved or not later on at some
Yes,
point.
I'm not sure what the January minutes state specifically. I have not read them, but that's basically the way it would work, yes.
That was when we started telling you that the minutes weren't right. But here's the question, and I'm not going to disagree with you 100%, but there just seems to me that there should be a notation there, because if they weren't approved and they were posted, then they shouldn't be signed, right?
well, they're not,
Right.
they're posted and because they have to comply with state statute.
Right.
So
We
we don't get
can't
the
edit
chance
them.
for them to go, they can't go online and remove it. It would be like
No, I'm
walking
not
into the
asking to
vault.
remove it. It just seems that if the minutes were not accurate and they got posted because of delay of staff, and we're now trying to correct the error, why is there not a way?
Well, I mean,
Excuse
they'll
me.
know because they'll have the meeting agenda, I mean, they'll have the meeting agenda for that
Excuse me,
January
Mr.
meeting.
Chair.
And they'll know that it was
We
supposed to be
kept-
done and it wasn't
So-
done.
Right.
I can, what I can do tomorrow is talk to the town clerk about the minutes and how it would work, to see if we can add a footnote to the December minutes and we can mention what meeting that they were discussed at. But we just have to clarify with the town clerk if that would be like allowable.
Great.
Right, I mean, they might be able to do that in their index,
Okay, so,
and that might be the solution, because
Would-
it doesn't
would you-
change the document, because that's what they'll do with like,
Yep. So-
mortgages and stuff, they'll notate a C release in this volume or whatever, so.
would you like, if you would like to hold off on the December minutes once more, we can verify if town clerk can report back to you in September.
Is that agreeable to the commission? What's the?
Because you want to, you're saying they're incorrect now. You
Well,
want-
it-
You want to amend.
They,
for
we
that.
still haven't.
And the problem I have with the way the minutes have been taken over the last few months is they're very sanitized and they don't connect to anything. If you are not sitting, only good thing that happens now is we're on video, and if I was a lawyer, I would not even bother with the minutes, I'd go straight to the videotape and watch it, because the minutes are not they're not written so you can follow along. Is that, you understand?
Yep, I do.
Mr. Chairman, to Mary Ann's point, that is exactly what the town manager wants to happen, that the minutes need to be shorter, and if somebody really needs the details, they could go to the video.
Well, I appreciate that the town manager wants sanitized minutes, but I personally think that the public should get what they are supposed to
I'm
get,
just-
and they can still be short. They just have to be
Well,
clear.
Short and accurate.
Well,
So why would we approve them then, if they're
I-
going to be sanitized? I'm sorry.
I'm with you.
I mean, why would, why bring them up?
Minutes
I mean,
are supposed
the
to be
idea of
a
minutes.
synopsis, a very brief synopsis. It's not supposed to
But
give
they're-
every detail. It's
Right.
just supposed to be a
It's not- well,
synopsis.
It's a minutes, it's not a transcript.
Correct.
True,
And
but
I
when
think-
you,
So as long as we can get the summary to be accurate, like discussion was held about Main Street property
Right.
Yes.
pertaining to this, this, and that, Commissioner so-and-so asked about this, and get it to that sort of
I
a general
think-
format
yeah, I
and
think the-
reflect what happened. If you have a question on the detail, then you would go.
I think the
and
detail that
watch the
Commissioner
recording.
Turner was looking for was related to the town attorney's feedback for what we had asked for previously. I think that's what it was, and there was some things in there I don't think that Commissioner Turner, I don't want to put words in your mouth, was looking for in the minutes just to be reflected so that there was a little more clarity in that.
as we move
If I
forward.
remember correctly.
As we move forward with minutes, now that we're lucky enough to have a house transcriber,
Gloves.
welcome.
Yes, welcome.
All I ask for is that we say the name of the person who's speaking, not she, him, her. And if we're talking about a specific thing, we state what the specific thing is. It doesn't have to be any longer, it's just not that, them, us. It's just very clear.
And I think that's reasonable.
That's all I'm asking for, so. Other than that, that was just discussion on minutes.
Okay,
I make a motion to approve the minutes
okay. Is there a second?
Sometimes.
of the June 27th, 2022
Oh.
minutes.
Do you still want me to verify town clerk for
Yes.
December? Okay.
Yeah. Keep
Okay,
that on
what
the
was,
list.
what was the vote there, please?
We haven't taken it.
Oh,
but
okay.
We're
I
going to do
thought-
it right
okay.
now. All those in favor? Abstain?
So 5,
No one's opposed. So,
0, 1.
that handles that one. And then we have the minutes for July
Abstain.
13 special meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a small typo that I circled for you on the special minutes.
Okay, where?
It just states regular meeting, it should state special meeting, that's all.
That's the top. That's, I saw that and I'm like, was wondering where this regular meeting I was at.
That's what happens when we have to do minutes in-house.
Yeah.
But now we have a
Okay.
new minute taker.
We have a
Yay.
motion to approve with that change.
Approved. Motion to approve with that change.
All those in
Rich,
favor?
Rainey,
Abstain?
Neville. So it's 5, 0, 1.
Okay. And what else do we have? We have correspondence and staff reports. I don't think you have much for us other than to introduce our new secretary.
So this is Sandra Barone, and she's your new recording secretary, so she just heard everything you just said,
Yep.
so.
Okay.
Everything.
So, and I do have an announcement, actually. We are having a community planning open house for Thompsonville as part of our POCD on August 10th from 4 to 8. It's a kind of a drop-in session. It's going to be at Pat Tallarita's new place at the old Thompsonville Fire Station. So, 11 Pearl Street. I will these are going out to, well, they're already on your page, but we're going to be sending them out to everybody in at least email. So we just started doing this today.
That was
so-
email.
Yeah,
I think you sent it out
you
today.
sent it to us today, so.
Oh, okay. So, like I
Need
said,
an
we just
RSVP
started.
for that, or?
No, it's
Just
just
stop
a
in?
drop-in session.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make sure that we put on the future agendas or to make sure we're talking about again, where are we with the Yard House?
Would that fall under our other business?
Are we there yet?
Yeah, we are. So
Okay.
go ahead.
So under other business, I'd like to make sure that this stays on our radar on the Yard House and taking down the deck. I know that the ZEO's been keeping an eye. And the other one is, where are we with the Toyota buy-sell place? They still haven't come in with their K7 request.
So that's,
Where are we with that?
you just finally.
And they're
came in,
still
right?
doing business there.
I do want to just note that he did come in last week to speak with staff, so it is in progress.
But he's still running his business out of that building.
I do not have any knowledge of that.
He is
CEO.
almost completely compliant at this point. I think that there was one last thing that Rick had to do, but he's out, so I can't really speak for him.
You know what makes me worried for the public who listens to us? is when we hold a line to cease and desist with some people, we just literally do not move off that line. And then other people come along and we just let it wiggle. Consistency matters. Mr. Chairman, if we could just keep those on our list of things
Yeah.
to noodle on, I'll keep them in my
Absolutely.
book.
Any other business from anybody else?
Did anybody have the opportunity to read through the newsletter? If you haven't, it's well worth it. But a couple of them that you and I talked about is we haven't had any workshop stuff, and we're supposed to do
Right.
our workshop-y stuff.
Yeah, that's a question for, to staff too, is how can we arrange some of that? And is there something like
Are
a
you-
basic training that we could arrange that would qualify for the statutory?
Are you talking about the statutory requirements for training?
Yes.
The town attorney has put a program together. We're supposed to probably do it in the fall. For
Okay.
all, it will be a combined effort of all the commissions. So it'll be ZBA, Planning and Zoning and Wetlands, I believe. So because it won't be very specific to the commissions themselves, but just the statutory requirements and how to run meetings and things like that.
Okay.
So
Mr.
they are,
Chairman?
it is in the works.
Question
don't have a
to
date for you.
staff through you. How are we supposed to track those? For example, Commissioner Neville and I went to the event, so we earned our, 1 hour that evening. How is that being tracked? Do we know yet, or is it just
We don't know
personal?
yet, but let us know
Okay.
that you did that.
We had got the certificate for that evening, but
Everything
is there a
is
formal
still-
way to track it through the town, or we do it individually?
Right now, that's the only way to do it. There is no state depository for
Okay.
tracking it.
And that's the
So-
goal with the session that you're talking about, is to help us address some of those hours
Absolutely.
that were required for training.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is there ZBA-specific training that we could do to satisfy that in addition to that pooled general training, or are we
trying to think.
are those kind of like limited focus areas that we have to cover, and there's
You
not
will
really-
have additional training that is ZBA specific, but the first hour is just going to be generalized.
Is it
I do
possible?
believe that there is, I'm trying to remember what was on that website. It's been a while since I looked at it, but I think that there is different training for the different commissions through the state website. So I'll have to look at that again.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, they talked about having some online things that you could get the certificates for, and they're going to offer them, I thought, specific to ZBA.
I thought so.
Yeah,
That was my
that's what I'm
recollection.
talking
I don't
about,
recall
the
seeing
online training.
specifics
I haven't
yet,
seen
but-
anything come back to
yeah.
us, but they
Yeah.
made a big deal out of it because I think that was the first one they had ever offered for that certificate.
Right, and I think that the state is trying to catch up with what their requirements are as well, so they have to provide a lot of training.
Okay, so you will keep us posted.
Mr. Chairman, you and I talked at the last meeting offline about trying to bring this board together to have our own
Right.
discussion about, how to read the application. Let's go over this.
Right,
Just
and
do
that's-
some basics. Can
Is
we
there a
just book
program like that?
Can we just make our own training?
If you want to have a conversation, yeah, but I mean,
But it won't count.
it's not going to count towards
the-
any
the
credits.
hours.
But if you want to just have
addition
that,
to.
yeah.
I think we need it in addition
I think
to.
it's a good idea.
Yeah, and would it be possible, maybe we could add it to a month where we don't have much on the agenda?
Could be that.
And just add
or-
an hour or something?
Yeah.
But how come you can't apply to the state to get credits for that?
Why?
You're not going to get credit for having your own discussion. Unless it's an official training session, you're not going to get credit.
They've outlined in the statute what you have to learn and who the providers are and all that type of
Did
stuff.
they?
But if you want your own private discussion, I mean, it's not going to be a private discussion, it's going to be a public
So it'd
meeting.
be like a workshop.
You just call it a workshop, and, you just talk about what,
We can do a workshop.
I think we put our heads together and we just write some stuff up and we all come together and have all the commissioners come and we do a little
Yeah, we could have a workshop.
Enfield ZBA training.
Even if it's just a discussion or questions about what have
Yeah.
we seen and how do we handle type things.
I think it'd be great.
Okay,
Right.
well, let's put
But
that on a
To-do list?
On a to-do
Well,
list
maybe you
and-
and me,
and-
and we can find some time and,
Yeah, or as I said, if there's a month and we know there's not going to be, there's only one application, for example, and we need an hour for the meeting, just
Well, we
put an
should-
extra hour after, you know.
if you and I can start brainstorming what those items might be, that way when that happens, we're not scurrying around to try to remember what.
Yeah, no, it
Wanna
should be.
try that?
Right, yeah, it should be focused, and we should have a couple topics that we'd like to cover. That sounds reasonable. Anything else from anybody?
I just want to make sure that the people are paying attention to this quarterly thing, because it's very important. They talked about the density limits on cannabis, they're all being removed. All the uses, cannabis uses removed. So you really should keep an eyeball on that, and how it might come down the pike. And the other thing, couple of things that failed, I want to make sure we strongly tell you it's failed, would be changing density to 15 dwelling units per acre. And those are things that go into the legislature. And one of the things for all you folks who aren't, really politically busy, the world works on how many no's does it take to get a yes when it comes to legislation. So I'd strongly say, keep an ear open. These may not affect the ZBA, but it may affect our town in general. And these are, if you get a chance, read these things, but don't throw them away, because you'd be amazed at how these will come back to be helpful to you. And electronic meetings are here to stay. So I think everybody here should, if you've got an idea or something that you got a question on ZBA work, how to read an app, how to look at property, what do you do? Just send it to me, and then Andrew and I will just put something together, okay?
That's reasonable.
Mr. Chairman, one other question to staff. Is it possible to get this quarterly newsletter just sent to us directly versus just in our packet? No?
We'd have to pay for extras. I mean, we can digitize it.
It's a subscription, basically.
Yeah.
So it comes directly to our office and we distribute it to you.
Right, you print it out to distribute to us. Can you just email it instead?
Yeah.
I'd rather get that.
Yeah, we can do that
Yeah.
if you prefer
I mean,
email.
you could throw it in our packet if you want.
Yeah,
but
that
I-
would save
you know,
paper. So, yeah.
That way, if we can get it more timely versus waiting on the packet.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. As soon as we get it, we'll digitize it to you.
Thank you.
Get it, what, like 40?
Anything else?
Today's the 25th, isn't it?
It is.
Yep.
I keep making it the 22nd.
Nothing else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Hang on to your packets, folks.